So, hi everyone, whoever's on YouTube. I'm just pulling out some notes that I thought I would talk about as we speak. Hey, so generally, Wednesday evening before dinner, general small talk about what's it like to be a filmmaker. First thing, as it is mentioned on the heading, this is going to be in English, only because I'm just generally reaching out to all the filmmakers across the country. And if I speak in Kannada, then I don't have the resources to subtitle it. And a lot of them have requested to speak in English, and it's going to be very simple English. So I hope everyone will be able to follow. And yeah, someday I'll also do it in ಕನ್ನಡ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೂ ಒಂದಿನ ಈ ಥರದ್ದು ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಈ ಮಧ್ಯ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಟು ರೀಚ್ ಔಟ್ ಸೊ ವೈ ಆಮ್ ಐ talking about this at you know 8:30. One, because I've got a bit of a cold, and for some strange reason my voice is sounding very good, which otherwise is very nasal. And I think this moment has to be documented, that I have this nice bass voice today, and I would probably feel happy when I hear it again. Times have changed. There's so many people making films. There's so many people trying to shoot something, to express themselves, to say something, and it's good to see all the new content that's coming out. I'm sure things are changing, especially mediums like this where we go live, and we can just connect to the audience. And when I started out, when I wanted to tell my stories way back in 2000, the only mediums were, I mean, I at least started with theater. And then, of course, we started dreaming of films, but they were a huge, huge dream. I mean, it's so huge at that point. There were no mediums. So I remember shooting on DV cams and all that. And today you can shoot on a cell phone and make a film. So the technology has made it very easy. So there's a lot of abuse going on. Now, one of the things which why I made this, or I'm trying to talk, is because I get so many requests on Facebook. So many people are so angry that I don't reply to their messages. And I'm sure this happens to much bigger directors. I mean, I've done this to directors. I've texted Anurag. I've texted a lot more people, and they never responded, and I was very hurt. I'm sure I'm hurting a lot of people whom I don't respond to. But the fact is that we don't know what to respond. I mean, now I know why they didn't respond, because it's not like we don't we we are arrogant. I mean, at least I'm not arrogant. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. There are people who have texted me. I have left everything. I've been sitting at home for 6 months and 8 months. I want to do filmmaking, and I don't know what to say. What I mean, I get like 40, 50 of these messages every day. So, and I start thinking, so that's the number of people who want to be directors. That's the number of people who want to tell stories. So how does everyone get some point? I'm sure out of this 400, it's going to be just one person who probably will be able to make a feature film someday. That's how life is. That's how the process is. But so many people aimlessly, and there is no definite path to anything. So how does one fix it? So I feel very guilty when I don't respond to those messages, but frankly I don't know what to say. I don't know what more to suggest. I do some workshops once in a while. There are hardly 4 people that I can take as my assistants. So then I started thinking, how did I handle this? Right? I'm not saying that I'm a great example or anything, but I think there is probably a little thing different that I was able to do, and I'm very happy that I could do it when I was very young. That little thing that when I look back and I see was different, um, is that you need to find your own reason to do it. Nobody's going to teach you anything. Nobody ever will teach you how to make a film. It's impossible unless you're offering him something in return, right? So I figured that one of the things that I started doing very early, as good as when I was 19 years old, was I started writing saying that this is what I want to tell through my plays. This is what I will eventually one day say through films or something. But there was something that I developed strongly. I sat in every possible departments. It was not like though I just wanted to be an actor when I started off, but I would just be part of the whole process. I would go and sit in. I've sat in weddings to see how they edit. So back in year 2002, when I dropped out of college, I went and sat in a my friend's father used to do wedding shoots, those big camera at those times. So I have gone through many weddings where I would be sitting just to see how do they edit things. So I would just be part of these things. And now look back and I see that I gathered many skills. So survival became easy. So very soon I was able to fit into an editing department. I was able to fit into a management part. I mean, I would never get to act, which was my dream though, but I was doing everything else. So somewhere I was not sitting at home jobless. And so I think something that you all should do is find that try to be part of everything that you want to be part of in this industry. That helps, because you should become indispensable after a point. People should feel like, I have 400 options, but I still need that guy to be part of my team. And that's what you need to create, and that's when I will desperately chase you and get you on my team, if that's a big thing too. But anyway, I'm just saying that, so if you could create something like that, instead of sending messages to me or to anyone. I'm sure you're all sending messages to all the other directors on social network today saying, please make me part of your team. But as from this point, we don't know how to make you part of our team. Even if you say you will work for free, even to just have you in that space is difficult. And trust me, after 2 days you will not be learning anything. It's the most boring experience to just stand and watch someone. So find something extremely unique that you can do really well. It could be anything. In my making of the film, in those examples, I've spoken about um, how. I'm just seeing a lot of angry smileys. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಟೈಟಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈ ಸತಿ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಬೇಜಾರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಡಿ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್, ಸೊ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಆಂಗ್ರಿ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಇನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್. ಸೊ ವೇರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಐ? So I was just saying that so once you find something unique and start doing your work, today social media has made it extremely easy for you to showcase your work, right? So instead of saying, please give me work, showcase your work, and you have no idea how people will chase you, which I've done in U-Turn. I've chased people because I saw their stuff on Facebook or anywhere, and I've written back to them and said, could you please come and show me what else you have done? And I think that's a great way to do. That way you are developing something unique for yourself. You have a lot of self-respect for yourself. And when you meet this guy, you are playing at equal levels. You don't have to beg him to help you or give you an opportunity. And I think that's what you should all be aiming at. So what is it to be a filmmaker? Now, everyone's dream largely is to be a filmmaker. When you're not actually the filmmaker, the dream is beautiful. It is like awesome. You think that you'll be able to just sit and tell your stories, to direct, to shoot whatever you want, and all of that. But the truth is that it changes to the other side very quickly, because you see, economics is a huge thing in filmmaking. Even, I mean, like the biggest, most famous filmmaker has to stick to a budget. So everyone has to goes through those cycles. So we all go through that. So it's, as soon as you get into the professional side of filmmaking, you may be you may be like all gone in the head, because it's depressing that you have so many things in here, but you can't really do it immediately. You can't probably do it exactly the way you want to do it, and it's very, very irritating. But that's the truth, and you should find joy in doing that. So some of you who are very passionate about something, but you have a great job happening which is paying you well, I still suggest that keep your great job, keep your well-paying job, and do this out of love, because you are free. You are completely free. You don't have to worry about, am I going to make money out of this? I mean, is this going to sell? Will people see this? Will my producer get back the money? You are free of all those things. So just, um, if you have a good paying job, then just do it out of love. Today everything is easy to do, so just do it. You're under no pressure. You don't have to do the kind of films that somebody is asking you to do. So that's one. So as a filmmaker, when I got into the professional side, right from day one, I'm talking about, how much are we going to get from this film, and it's very depressing after a point. Stories, let's say your finances are taken care and everything. So how do you make films? What makes you uh, to decide on what kind of story you're going to tell? It is very simple. You have to decide what is it that you really want to make a film about, and just make a film about that. If you try to make films about which sells and it is very tricky. At least personally, I have never been able to make a film for the sake of making a film. That's why it takes so long, because I really need a very strong voice from within, which tells me that this is what I want to tell through my film, and once it gets in, it doesn't stop me. I mean, budgets or anything, I think I've figured out a way to overcome those things, but I definitely need that voice, and without that voice, I just can't. Very weird to do this on a live video. Give me 30 seconds. Someone's knocking on the door. I'll just tell them to be quiet. Give me 10 seconds. Back again. So sorry. uh, so yeah, now one more interesting topic that I think this is going for long, and good thing about this video is that people who are really passionate about this will want to see this video, and which is why I think the most crucial information is going to come out now. Um, Hierarchy in our industry is huge. Don't forget the industry, what the society does to you, right? I mean, what is interesting about a software engineer is probably that when you say to your neighbor or anyone that, hey, I'm a software engineer, he's not going to ask you, are you the project manager? Are you the senior software engineer? Are you going to be a CEO of that company ever? He's happy to know that, hey, you're a software engineer. But you know what's the biggest curse that you're going to, like what we all go through, is that when you're in the film line, anyone you meet is going to ask you, so when are you going to act? Like anyone. So that's like the big job. So everyone below is nothing. Yeah, so after a point you let go of this. It doesn't matter to you anymore whether what people think. But I've seen that eventually, great. Okay, so the actors of course get paid the most, of course the lead actors, and after that I guess the director, and depending on how popular you are, you get paid. Now, so what happens is after a point you'll be really good at your work, but you'll figure that, you know what, no matter how good, how great an editor I am, nobody gives, you have to be seen, you have to be valued, and somebody calls you and says, hey, do you want to act? You will jump at that opportunity, which I'm doing right now. So uh, I'm saying that we need to kind of shield yourself as a filmmaker. After a point, I think you need to shield yourself from someone saying act. Act is still understandable. Assistant director. Now, everyone thinks that everyone who's an assistant director should eventually become a director. Now, that is where the big problem is. Sometimes you really have the voice and the instinct to be a director, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you really don't. You could be a great assistant director. You could be an assistant director who everyone wants, But you know what the mistake we do, or rather the society and the industry pushes you to do, that they will make you into a director. And that's the end of it. Because you may suck at being a director, but you're great at being an assistant director. Now, I go on telling so many people I know that if you're a good assistant director, just be at that place. One good thing about it is that you will get paid regularly. Whether the film does well or not, you will get paid as an assistant director because people want your services. And that's a great area which in India is completely unexplored. I think in Hindi and Tamil, people are doing this a bit. Kannada, people should do it. If you feel that you have great management skills, and if you are someone who's good at coordinating, understanding scripts, and being being a follower, then be an assistant director, like a professional one. Never dream of becoming a director. Then you will have a long career. You will have an awesome journey where you're part of 100 films maybe, and you'll get paid. You'll make a great living out of it. So but become dependable. So that's very important, because what is happening with us is that we say work with a bunch of youngsters, and then they work with us for a year or two, and then they become directors, which means as a director I need to now go back and train new assistant directors. So for me as a director, I'm constantly trying to train new people and depend on new people. And My assistants are now trying to fight the battle of being a director, which again is not easy. Sometimes they really don't have it, and they are trying to fight that battle. So I would say that look for it, do some short films. And if your film is not good, if you feel that, hey, though I was a great assistant director, my film turned out to be crappy, then just leave that journey there and take this more professionally. Now in Hollywood, you must have seen it. A director could be a newcomer. There is something called as the first assistant director, FAD or something. And they could be much more senior than the director. And you will see their names come right after the film. They don't put director's name, they put these names. And they sometimes are so professional that they get paid more than the director, right? So I think I think some of the youngsters could look at it as an opportunity. Be an assistant editor, be an assistant cinematographer. Everyone needs that awesome, trustable, dependable assistant. And that word assistant is looked down in our country, and maybe that's why you always want to be the big guy. So if you shield yourself and tell that no matter what my mom, dad, neighbor, auntie, uncle tell me, I know what my job is, it's great. You are relieved of all the tension. Whether your film is a hit or not, you will be working, and that's something. So that's all about assistant director. Screenwriting. Now one of the biggest time consuming process in filmmaking is we are writing our films, and we are trying to direct. One of the biggest reasons why this is also happening is because screenwriters in India hardly get paid, hardly get valued. You have to be really good. You should have done a lot of films which are hits, and only probably then somebody will give you some money and say, right. Now, which are the films where you get a lot of money, mass, big commercial films, and now, so you will get paid to write those films, but not probably a U-turn. Or I've never got paid to write a film. What I did with Yogaraj, but of course, associate director, writer, everything, it was a lot of collaborative work. But has someone come to me and said, take this X amount of money and give us a script? Doesn't happen, even at this stage. So those of you who want to write, I completely understand your plight, because there's no money. And so eventually what you'll do is, you're a great writer, you know how to write dialogues, everything, but because nobody is going to produce your films, you will try to become the director. And that's where the tragedy kind of starts, because you are probably not a great director. And sometimes a director doesn't know how to write, and he's constantly depending on someone else's scripts, right? So he's waiting, screenwriter. So this is the mess that we are in currently, and you need to find your answer. You need to really find your answer of how do you crack this. I've been fortunate enough that I can write and I could direct, and that is why I'm probably here today. But it took me a lot of time. It took me right from school. In fact, for some reason I started writing plays in school, and then college. So I had a lot of those opportunities to make mistakes. I did street plays where I used to write street plays, get a bunch of actors to do it. So I knew how what I'm writing is going to work with an audience. So that started when I was 17. So those of you who are 22, 24, 25, it will take you that time. Nothing is going to happen fast, but you need to do that journey. Theater helps you because when you do theater, you write something, you put it out in front of a live audience, you will hear their feedback, and that helps in a big way, right? So it helps you in understanding whether what you've written, what you've directed is working or not. Whereas in film, it's very abstract. Even this video, look at the number of likes, and you don't know if that person is really liking it. I mean, it's the views, 340 views currently, but are 340 people really liking it? We don't know. But in theater, it's different. In theater, you will sense it, you will hear it. One yawn, you will hear it. One cough, you will hear it. And you know that, okay, something's not working, right? So try to do theater. That helps. I did a lot of theater, and that gave me that constant feedback. So internally, there is this instinct which gets tuned to writing, directing, and kind of gauging as to what works, right? So that's something that you should do. Of all this, let's say you've done all this journey, right? You've started at 20 or 18, and you've come to whatever, 34, 35. I'm 34 right now. There is definitely a point as a filmmaker. I don't know how the senior ones have done it, like a Spielberg or a Kurosawa, or even our own filmmakers who are old and who still do great films. After a point, you start feeling irrelevant. Like you start wondering that, okay, my thoughts don't make sense anymore. I try to make this film, but nobody is really. I don't think the generation which is right now will even like this. You go through that self doubt, which I go through a lot, though I'm quite young. So I think after a point, the day you feel that you are irrelevant to yourself when you're making a film, stop. Come back when you feel that, hey, now I know what I want to make. But the just making a film because you think you're a director and you have to churn out films year after year, months after months, is painful. It's very torturous. For me, thankfully, I keep doing random things and find something to stay sane. Otherwise, it works on your mind because there's competition. Whether you want it or not, there is competition. There's someone who will come and say, hey, you know what? That guy's film made so much money. You know what? This guy won an award. After a point, you start, because it's human, right? You start feeling like, okay, I have to, I need to do something. And that I need to do something is forced. Filmmaking is not a job. It's not feeding the hungry or anything, right? It's not doing any of that. So it is a very selfish act. You want to say something and you want a million people to watch it and make money out of it, right? So unless you really want to say something, why would you do it? But that's all very idealistic way of speaking, because there are people who still make films and they make a lot of money, which is like a factory work. But I'll never understand how that works. I wish I could, because I would love to make a lot of money. But yeah, so a filmmaker's journey is to kind of sum up all these things. There's a lot of self-doubt. You wake up and you don't know what is happening. I wake up every day and I don't know what to do. I'm busy, but I'm jobless, and that's the worst position to be in. You're busy because your mind is always looking at everything and thinking, that means this means that, so your mind is always constantly trying to draw meaning out of life. And at the end of the day, when you're sleeping, you'll feel like, wow, another day passed by. And then after a point you'll be, whoa, 2 months passed by. And for me it's like 9, 10 months passed by, just because I'm trying to pick things and my mind is processing it. Then I tell a friend, hey, you know what, how do you think of this concept? They'll be like, interesting. 5 days later, I don't find it interesting. End of it. So all your 7, 8 days of work that you did as a writer is gone, and nobody's paying you for this. And how do you sustain yourself, right? How do you pay your bills when nobody's going to pay you for just sitting and looking out of the window and thinking? So it is messy. It has a huge lot of challenges. Even if you're financially secure, the kind of mental torture that you go through is huge. Unless you put all these things aside and say, hey, boy loves girl, girl's brother hates boy, boy and brother fight, and then the girl jumps off a cliff, boy jumps off a cliff. You get this kind of stories. then maybe you will churn out things faster, and you'll stay sane. But otherwise, it's not an easy journey. So you need to you need to find a lot of meaning in why you're trying to be a filmmaker. But it's a great journey. So anyway, I thought before I go home to eat, I'll today just share some of these things, and I hope those of you who have watched this video will find at least one point interesting. And thank you for watching for so long. It's really good to have an audience watch. So thank you. Good night and have fun. Bye.